I've got endless curiosity for how the world financially actually works. For example, I recently bought a couple of private jets and I'm thinking about opening an airline. And as a result, I've been researching and studying how airlines work. And I've come across some of their dirty little secrets that most people don't understand. Like, for example, if you've recently used your frequent flyer miles to book a flight and go somewhere, you're participating in one of their dirty little secrets. Today, I'm going to expose them for what they are, and I'm going to show you this hack that they're using in business that ironically has some real-world application to you and me.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah. It's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Check it out. Today, we're going to ask ourselves this question. What can we learn from billion-dollar airlines? Like, is there something practical in that? If you're a subscriber on my channel, you know that we don't just talk about real estate, we talk about business, and we talk about bettering your financial world. And I have to tell you, this year I increased my net worth more through private equity over several companies than I have in literally the last 20 years of buying real estate. Which means ultimately this, 90% of all millionaires made their money in real estate, but 100% of all billionaires did it in private equity or owning pieces of or entirely companies that literally had their moonshot. And so today, because of my private jets, I'm like really curious about what I can learn from the airline industry because I've got a couple of buddies and I'm like, wow, what if we put a fleet of private jets together? And in 10 years, does this become the next Delta or American Airlines? Well, it's not worth really going down that road unless I can start learning from their mistakes and also the things that they're doing really well. And that's what's led me across some crazy information that I didn't understand about the airline industry that I think is worth knowing about. So why are some companies and some industries for that matter more successful than others? I have to know because there's a lesson in there. There's things that I can learn from it. And today's video actually has a lot of personal application if you're committed to becoming a financial genius. And as I dove in on what's going on in the airline industry, something smelled kind of fishy.
Hello?
We know that during the pandemic a few years ago that all airlines went through a really nasty rough patch. Check this out. During the pandemic, airlines had to borrow large loans to stay afloat as travel came to a halt. In order to qualify for these loans, they put their credit loyalty programs up for collateral. But not one of them, but every airline is doing this, which the bigger players all revealed to be worth more than the value of their respective market caps. As in, check it out, United has a market cap of $10 billion. Basically, it's worth $10 billion. However, its loyalty program is worth $21.9 billion. Delta. I love flying Delta back when I flew commercial, market cap of $20 billion, and their loyalty programs were $26 billion. And American has a smaller market cap of $6 billion, but their loyalty programs were $25.5 billion. So somehow these companies, they only have so much value overall, but the value of their loyalty programs is worth way, way more. What does that actually mean? So what does this really mean? Well, an airline values their loyalty programs to be worth more than the company as a whole can really only mean one of two things. Either the company is lying or the rest of the company operates at a loss, which by the way, on a multi-billion-dollar business, it's not a really great business model unless it's designed to be a loss leader. So I dug a little bit deeper, check out what I found out. Based on the 2018 earnings report, American Airlines lost 0.0043, like half a cent per seat per mile flown. This means that if a 150 passenger plane flew 2,500 miles from New York City to LAX, the company would lose $1,600 on the flight. Which I want you to think about that. What they're charging is just enough money where they're either making a little bit or in this case, they're actually reporting that they're losing a little bit of money. However, in 2018, American Airlines earned $1.9 billion in pre-tax profits due to their $4.2 billion frequent flyer program revenue. In other words, they're not making money flying people around the country. They're making money on how they end up banking their reward flyer miles. Why am I making a video about this? Check it out. There's value for you in understanding this. The airlines have effectively become banks. And that actually means something because here on my channel, I'm teaching you how to become a bank. Like for example, when I talk about real estate, you realize that we're buying where's my house? Did we lose that somewhere? Give me my house. I want my house. I want you to see this. What's essentially happening here is I'm teaching you how to buy a house. Let's say it costs $200,000 to buy, and everyone's like, oh, Kris, you're an investor, you're taking on risk. You're actually buying this house because it's gonna go up in value, and after a period of time, it'll be worth $300,000. I'm like, no, that's not really what I'm doing. I'm not buying it because it goes up in value. I'm buying it because I'm outsourcing the debt elimination to a tenant. I put a tenant in the home, and guess what they're gonna do over time? They're gonna pay $100,000 off, but meanwhile, I only owe $100,000 on it. It's not gone up 100, it's now gone up 200,000 in value, and all of a sudden, like my spread is, it's gaining in value while it's getting paid off. Real estate investing is nothing more than sophisticated banking on really high ROI, where I make 25 to 50% each year on my money. You take your money to the bank and you earn like 0.0 nothing percent. So how are the airlines doing this? So here's how I think airlines are like banks. With loyalty programs being the only profitable part of their business, airlines have become glorified banks, partnering with credit card companies to offer incentives, to spend money to collect points. They've tapped into the ultimate money-making machine, interest on consumer debt. The best part is that unlike most regular banks, customers tend to be loyal because switching would mean the loss of those points or their free Sky Miles. And it's interesting, when I look at most companies, the most successful ones are actually banks. They're arbitraging, they're finding a way to control someone else's money, they earn interest on it, and then they eventually pay the money back and they get to keep the difference. That's banking 101. And that is essentially what airlines are doing. Now, this is important for me to understand because as I leased out one of my private jets last year, and I just brought this other one on and flew it for the first time, as I lease out these jets, it's like, oh, how much money can I make? Well, let's just say theoretically, I was gonna buy a bunch of jets and just break even. That business would make no sense unless I had a way of banking frequent flyer miles and systems, and all of a sudden, guess what you have? You have net jets, you have all of these jet programs where you have access to private jets, but what are you doing? You're forking out money and then you can use them a certain amount of time. Basically, the airline industry is a lot like a bank, a lot like real estate is a bank, frankly, like a lot of very successful companies. And so I'm asking myself, how is this relevant to you? I'm gonna show you my favorite way to get banks at their own game. I'm gonna show you how to make them the sucker. I'm gonna show you how to win like a bank does. So let's talk about how people become their own banks. No, I do not mean go find a location in town and buy a brick building and then tell people to give you money and then lend it out, not like traditional banking, but a little different. Like for example, think about the company you work for and the money that you put towards a 401k. Did you know that that's a bank? Or your IRA, you're putting your money in it. Did you know that that's a different kind of bank? Some of you will actually try to get your house paid off because you're a Dave Ramsey fan. That's a different type of bank. But some banks suck and some banks rock. So I want to talk about sucky banks versus good banks. When you put your money in a 401k, an IRA, you only earn 5, 6, 7% on the 30-year average. If you leave your money in like a certificate of deposit, a CD, you get only like a couple of percent. These are called single-digit ROIs. And single-digit, when you ask how that compounds over 30 years, it's a small amount. It's like here's $50,000. Did you know that if I take $50,000 and put it in a 401k or an IRA for 20 years, that I can turn it into basically $160,000 over 20 years because my money's compounding at 5%. Well, that is what I'm going to call a really sucky bank because this money is set aside for retirement. That's what the 401k is for. Over 20 years, it only turns into that. This is why at 65, the average person only has $200,000 set aside in their retirement bank account. It's not enough. When I take $50,000 and I put it into a piece of property, I earn at the very least not 5% on it, but 25% on it, from the debt reduction to the appreciation to the tax benefit to the cash flow. And so this property, it's a house of bricks, is actually a bank for me where I can where else can you take your money and deposit in a bank and have it earn 25%? Well, most of my real estate's earning way more than that. But I have other banks and businesses where I'm earning 100% or 500% on my money. And that is helpful when you think of your money in terms of banking. So let me teach you right now the most intelligent banking that I think you can possibly do. Yes, I think that you should put money in real estate, and yes, you should put money in business. But before you do, you should bank it somewhere. And do you know where I put my money, what bank I put it in? I don't put it in a normal bank like Chase. What I do is I put it in a rare type of life insurance. It's a life insurance bank account where I'm not investing in my death. I'm actually investing in the living benefits, because that life insurance bank account that I put money in gives me something nothing else can. Here's 3 of the main benefits. Number 1, it gives me dividends. With dividends, you get to earn a guaranteed dividend every year on the cash value of your policy, and there's also guaranteed returns that come with that. Most of these banks or insurance companies, they have dividends between 1, 2, or 3% on a whole life policy, but then they guarantee another 3% on top of that. So you got some people earning 4, 5, 6%. Now that's no better than a 401k or an IRA. It won't make you rich. But what if you're only parking the money there long enough to pull it out and go buy real estate earning 25%, and you can earn money in 2 places at once? Well, that's one of the next benefits, is that you can borrow from this life insurance policy. So even while your cash value is growing with interest, you can borrow against it and pursue alternative investment opportunities such as real estate, such as business. And now what's happening is your money is literally earning in this type of account. It's also earning in this kind of account, and I'm kind of double dipping. And there's kind of no kind of about it. Like, I'm making money in 2 places at once. And what that's doing is that's speeding up the velocity of my money. Well, then the third major benefit is that this type of bank account is untouchable, right? You've ever heard of like FDIC insured, oh, I bank at this bank and they're gonna guarantee up to $200,000. This entire bank and all the money in it is totally untouchable. It's like a Swiss bank account. Creditors cannot go after your life insurance policy benefits to pay off debts. These assets go to the named beneficiaries and aren't part of the probate process that settles your estate. So basically, this is even, in many cases, more trustworthy than a trust. Like this complicated financial system people put their money in to protect it. That's what this life insurance bank account does. So banks are everywhere, and they're a part of all businesses. And the airlines are doing it, and I do it in the game of real estate, but I always first run my money through a bank of whole life insurance. And there's a way that you can actually set this up entirely for free. Put your money in just a little bit over time, pull it out, and then double dip on all your investments. And if you want to know how to do that, there's a link below where you can get with my favorite company that over the last decade has done a better job for me than anybody else in setting up these insurance bank accounts for free to help my investments get supercharged. Click the link and get your free bank account right now. So the reality is life insurance has a whole lot more benefits in the way that I utilize it. Life insurance to me does not mean, oh no, when I die, I want my family to get money. Like, I want that too, but there's these living benefits, and I only mentioned 3 of them. If you actually want to learn all of the benefits in a really short, concise video, click right here and let me show you how to get it set up.